I've got the transactions screen up on my console. I know that you guys are probably used to seeing our other webinars where we have a handheld up on the screen, but today is going to be a little bit different. We are going to look right in the ScanForce Management Console. So we only have enough time today to get to the tip of the iceberg on functionality and capability made possible by this tool, but we're going to do the best we can to see as much as possible. So we're going to start by looking at some transactions, move into some dashboards and widgets, and then briefly touch on creating waves for picking or shipping, and even editing labor transactions for production management. The console is my favorite part about our ScanForce WMS solution because I love looking at data, and the more data, the better. And the more data, the better the analysis. So for ScanForce WMS users on Advanced, Select, Premium, or Premier, guess what? You already have all of this data at your fingertips. So let's see how you can use it to make informed decisions for your company. So like I said, we're going to start out with the transactions, and we're going to explore data of a fictional company that manufactures and then ships bottles of garlic and oil. So the ScanForce Management Console gives us a view of every transaction that is sent from the handheld scanner into Sage. Nothing actually stays here, but there's a record of every transaction. So on my little screen here of all transactions, you can see there's an overwhelming number of columns, and this isn't even the half of it, right? You can right click here and have the column chooser, and a whole nother list of columns can pop up. So this, of course, could be really overwhelming for some, not for me because I love columns and rows, but we can actually filter this screen right here before we even get into any of the dashboards. So I am going to show you a filter for receiving. So I made a little receiving view here. And in this receiving view, we've got a lot of information from the device and the user to the time it took them to complete this transaction on the handheld and then send it into Sage. We've got the purchase order number and vendor number, item code, the item code description, lot number. So this is just a little snapshot of receiving. You can see I've filtered out the rest of those columns that we didn't need for this. And you can see receiving for, over the course of about a week. If you wanted to narrow it down to one bin location or put it in a different order, you simply click the top here, just like in Sage or in Excel when you are trying to filter something. So this screen is pretty handy dandy because it really, you can see everything that's going on from the lot that ties to the vendor lot and the expiration date. So when I go back over here, you can even export this to CSV or text or PDF or Excel. And one of the coolest parts about this that I used in a past life, because I was a user, was a view for quality control. So when things are received, and it may be in a different building or it may be in a warehouse, maybe even a different state, right? You are receiving things on the handheld and you have a lot of paperwork. And yes, we can scan the paperwork in and somebody still has to digest that and make sure that everything is right in the system. Well, by using the console and this little quality control view, you can actually see the item code, the lot number, the vendor lot, and the expiration date all together and all tied together. From a quality control and an audit standpoint, this is pretty valuable data. If you wanted to look at just one lot number that was received or one item that was received, you can just delimit in here, and we'll just type in GM7. And beginning with 7, I've got a lot. If I type in the 7.1, GM7.1, it actually narrows it down to just one lot number and one container of garlic. So again, it seemed like it was overwhelming, but we were able to kind of narrow down everything that we needed pretty quickly. So in this fictional company, what we're going to do is we're going to need to receive in some purchase orders of garlic and oil, plus all of the packaging materials like bottles, jugs, caps, and boxes. And then we're going to actually manufacture everything. When we bring it in, like I said, we're going to make sure we capture the lot serial, the vendor lot, and the expiration date. And then we need to put everything away. And we're going to do that on using the on the handheld, the guys in the system that I've set up in here, the warehouse team, are doing putaways using putaways on the handheld, that specific process. So if we go back to our receiving view, and we actually have our bin location here, we can see kind of the flow of the materials that are getting received in. When we go to the bin view, now we can look at the bottles and jugs coming into a receiving staging location, and then they're actually turning into a bin transfer here, and they're being put away in the overflow section of the warehouse. So we can, after they're put in the overflow section, they're going to need to get picked and staged and in a component bin. And after they're in the component bin, they're going to get produced from there. And we're going to do stage, you know, a bill of materials production entry. And everything that, you know, you see here again is just eliminating and passing around any paper. Of course, people like to have paper. I still like to bring a list to the store. It's something to carry. But you can always at least have more live data, and you can keep a list, you know, for backup. But there's no need to squint at any messy handwriting or anything. And from lot tracing to an alleged, you know, misshipment or mispick, the data here is navigable, and it's arguably much faster than looking through paperless Office in Sage and scrolling through PDFs. So the console, I always say, is actually an auditor's dream come true, and also, you know, for people that just really enjoy data like I do.
Christine, we have a quick question. How do you
Sure.
filter the view so columns are completely removed?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So let's take a look at that. I'll go back to my start view here. And all you do is you grab this and it becomes an X. So I've selected it and I just drop it off. So I can get rid of anything that I'm not using. And then you would take the opportunity to save the view and name it as something. Does that make sense?
Great, thank you.
Okay, great. So anyway, you guys are probably sick of looking at the raw data, but like I said, I just wanted to show some of the transactions and have everybody get an idea of what we're trying to do today. So we're going to take in the raw materials of, you know, pallets of totes of garlic and oil, and then we're going to put them, you know, in a production line, run them into little bottles, cap them, box them. And then we need to put everything away into their, you know, their overflow locations so that we can use the overflow locations to replenish the picking bin locations, right? And we're going to do everything as accurately and as efficiently as possible using the ScanForce, you know, using directed pick, using the enhancement for bill of materials, and making sure and using the shipping enhancement on the or the shipping function on the handheld as well. So I'm just going to scroll down here, and I'm actually going to show you that there are some native spots in here in the console that just come ready with it. So these are views that I've made. Without these views, it's just raw data, but you can make anything and create anything. But something that comes right in with the console is this ready to pick spot, and this is showing us everything that's ready to pick. So this is essentially your open sales orders. So with directed pick in ScanForce, we are going to take the most efficient serpentine path around the warehouse, picking the finished goods by oldest lot number in this case, and then stage the orders to be shipped. So it's a pretty big mouthful of our fictional company here, but there are a lot of moving pieces, people, transactions, and they're all happening simultaneously under one roof or possibly under multiple roofs. So with ScanForce WMS, each step is efficient and accurate, and with the management console, we can even prove it. So we can sort this in here. You can always edit it. I've got ready to pick parcels up. So I delimited the ship via by different parcels. So if you're using the Starship app or the Starship enhancement with ScanForce, you could use this screen here. This is also a spot. You can see Wave SO selection. So this may not apply to everybody on the call today, but if you do have our Wave shipping or picking enhancement, you can create the Wave from the management console here. But let's get into the dashboards that I get really excited about and I really like. If we go over to the dashboard here, I have a lot of different layouts. And actually in my past life, we used to have a big 75-inch screen up in the receiving warehouse, so you could actually see what was going on in real time. Now, since this is a fictional company and I don't have anybody in a warehouse sending in anything, sending in any data, nothing's moving. But theoretically, these would be kind of bumping around as people sent transactions into Sage, right? So I call this view snapshot here. And we've got our ready to pick, which is essentially this list that I showed you previously, but it's a ready to pick, little gadget. It looks cool. Then we've got ready to ship, just one so far, shipped today. So this has been invoiced, 1 PO received today, 19. The receiving team is bumping. And then we've got bin transfers by user. So each user is a different color. And then we've got some production as well. So this might be something that a CEO or a manager, supervisor would want to take a look at, just to get a view of everything happening in the warehouse at once. And these are really what I like to call the bells and whistles. It's just a neat peek into every department all at the same time. But then if you hit the little grid box here, you can actually see the data behind the widget. So and you can move these guys around and add more as you see fit. I tried not to make it, too crazy for today. So I have a couple of other views that I want to look at in for like receiving. So we're going to go back to receiving and we're going to select the layout of the PG receiving. So I've got PG raw materials, so receiving of raw materials. So I have a day view and a week view. And so you can see, okay, Monday, 10 were received, and these are the 10 different order numbers that were received. And then the week view, 61. So again, that receiving team is chugging along. If we go into the PO receiving for total quantities, now this was an order view, but if we go in for total quantities, then I have it delimited by item code. So this is the quantity of oil that we received, the quantity of packaging materials, and the quantity of garlic. So again, you can, just at a glance, it really helps you see, hey, wow, we were really busy, a lot busier on the 10th than we were on the 4th. Can you find a pattern in that data? There's, maybe we need more people to come in later in the week. It just helps you make those types of decisions for your business. But getting everything received in is only half the battle, right? We have to get it put away. So let's look at my little put away layout here. And we can see we actually have some performance metrics that we can use to look at what the team is doing. So I've got JV, we'll call him Joe, and LZ, we'll say Luke. So they're, weekly, JV's a little bit, has picked a bit more, or has put away a bit more. But on Monday, LZ picked put away a little bit more. So again, this is just interesting data to have. My favorite part about something like this is that you could even put this up on a screen and people could pick and be able to see their activity and what they're doing. You could make it kind of fun. So that's the receiving side of things. And then in the meantime, as I said, while the team is receiving, the quality control team, it could be looking at the actual data in the background that is driving, that has the vendor lot and the expiration date. And since everybody's using the ScanForce system, everything's accurate and efficient. So let's go into the sales order picking, and we're going to look at SO picking here and check out that layout. And it really looks like this user, Tom, let's call him Tom and Dave. Tom is really just running Dave into the ground. I don't know, maybe his pallet jack is dead. Can't really figure it out, but you can you at least get an idea that line items and total quantity picked, Tom is really killing it for us today. And then in terms of the shipper, we have one order shipped so far. You can see that it's in a batch, and of course you can adjust these columns. You can hit that little button to full screen it, and then hit it again to minimize, and we're back to our dashboard. And now we're going to take a peek at the bill of materials. So if you're using our bill of materials enhancement for on the handheld, then we can also check out that layout here. And I've got Brad and Rick here, and Brad is, outperforming Rick on Monday, but it looks like Rick actually pushed through more lines at the end than Brad did. So we can dig down into it. You can group by item. You can lift this item up into here. You can have it group by items and see, who picked which item. You could change a filter on the date, and this thing is fully dynamic. So you create the widget, and then you can edit it as needed. And then if you save a new widget, you can add that to the dashboard, or you can just change it, and then you can change the data, and then I refresh it, it goes right back to the little widget that I had there before. So if you're using production management, on the other hand, then bear with me. I've just got to go into my test company for production management. And you can actually use the console to edit tracking for labor. So for example, if somebody went to lunch and forgot to clock out, you can see that this is highlighted here on a step on a work ticket. So we've got employee number 00-Wilsha, and it looks like Wilsha forgot, went to lunch, took a break, forgot to clock out. But we don't want, this to be, we don't want to put in here that it took her 45 minutes if it only took 2 minutes, because that's going to mess up our cost. So at this point, you can actually edit the time and ask Wilsha, hey, when did you get back into that work ticket? And you can fix it right here. And so that's just another thing that we can do within the console. So in addition to all of the dashboards and the wave selection and the labor tracking, the transactions, like I said, there's even more things to do, but we don't have time for that today. And I just wanted to say that if you've been watching this and you're thinking, okay, well, that's really cool, but I don't want everyone to have access to this, you can always set up different users and different roles, just like you do in Sage and just like you do in ScanForce for your users like that you set up in Sage to be able to use the handheld device. So the console really serves as a dynamic 360-degree live view of your warehouse, and you have the data to granularly measure speed and accuracy, and you can even create a bonus plan for your warehouse teams. It's user-friendly and intuitive, but really powerful if you have multiple buildings or a really big space. You can look at the console instead of waiting for paper to be passed around between departments. And like I said, we even have customers that put the console up on a big screen so that you have better visibility. And that is all I had for today. Are there any other questions?
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. So now we will go ahead and wrap up. Thank you again, everyone, so much for attending today. And you can reach us if you want to contact us. You can contact sales@scanforce.com if you have any further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.